In reference to government loans and grants, your opponent has said that it would be foolish for companies not to take advantage of this low-cost capital. How you define capital tells you a lot about how the economic, or I guess how one defines capital tells you a lot about the economic or philosophy or policy that they espouse. I mean, the definition of capitalism is largely inherent on how you define capital. And so my question for you is, how do you define capital, and does a government that is $14 trillion in debt really have capital to invest in small businesses according to your definition?
I define capital as accumulated wealth. Accumulated wealth, I think conceptually, is very different than redistributed wealth or commandeered wealth. That's the only kind of wealth the government has, is that money that it takes from its citizens. And if it's calling something business capital, it's come from tax revenues. It's not capital at all. That's seized. Those are seized assets that are being transferred to someone else. So, and we have to remember, government can't create wealth. It physically lacks the capacity to do so. It can no more create wealth than it can create matter or energy from a vacuum, from an empty void. It doesn't happen. The only thing it can't do is take it from one person and give it to someone else. And that's not the role of government. It's certainly not the role of the federal government.
So those who are politically active will have been following this election and probably have made up their minds already. Since I'm going to go out to friends and neighbors, many of whom probably aren't interested in politics and aren't intending on really voting in the primary, and I want to tell them to vote for you, what should I tell them?
If you want a candidate who is a lifelong conservative, whose conservative principles won't change because they're rooted in 223-year-old in a 223-year-old document on your name. My conservatism isn't rooted in the fact that it's politically popular this year to be conservative, because I've always been this way. I'm the only candidate in this race of whom that can be said.
Sharon once said that I'm the only person that she's met that's more conservative than you. Do you think that's true?
That you're more conservative than me?
Uh-huh. I'm just joking with you. Yeah.
It might be. It's hard to say.
I think it was when I was telling her my idea of turning Social Security into a lottery.
Yeah.
Just joking. Yeah. What about the ones that don't even know what the definition of the word conservative means?
Well, that is a real problem. That lots of people define conservative differently, or they don't understand it.
Or they just don't care enough about politics to even have looked
at
it
the
up.
federal level, conservatism, if you're conservative, that means you believe that words have meaning, that the Constitution is made up of words, and that to understand it properly and operate the federal government properly, you have to figure out what those words mean and adhere to them as religiously as possible. Religiously and consistently.
I think that'll get it so that my neighbor lives down the road that doesn't follow politics and doesn't really ever vote, that they'll just go do it if I go tell them.
You just tell them to vote?
Yep, because you believe in the Constitution and the...
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
That's why we're going to win this, by the way. We have a far more robust grassroots network than my opponent. And
you had like 2,000 more Facebook friends than him.
Yeah.
If everyone on Facebook just went and got 10 people to vote for you, I would win pretty handily. 20? 25. 25 people. Got that? People have made an issue about you not committing to your own term limit. Just 3.5 short years ago, Barack Obama was in your same shoes. If you are elected to the Senate, do you have ambitions beyond becoming a senator?
No.
Where do you see yourself in 20 years from now?
I don't know. Teaching. Yeah, but you can't earn a living teaching primary.
I know, I'm just joking.
I don't know. Now, as to the point about self-term limits, promising self-term limits while also advocating constitutional term limits is those are mutually inconsistent promises. I don't think you can be faithful to your pledge to support constitutional term limits while saying, I will self-term limit, because that perpetuates the problem. If everyone who believes in constitutional term limits self-term limits out before the job is done, it would never happen. And the term limits movement would go the way of the Shakers.
They're not going to try to run for president in 2012.
No.
Barack Obama pulled it off. I'm just kidding.
For about 1,000 reasons, I'm not Barack Obama.
Only 1,000?
In about 1,000 respects, I should say.